everyone. We are at NCTE 2015 in Minneapolis, and I am here with Cathy Fleischer, who is an NCTE member and a professor of English education. You started off your career as a high school teacher, and now you teach English education at Eastern Michigan University. When did your role as an English educator begin to include a passion for advocacy?
So I credit most of this with my husband, who has done a lot of advocacy work his whole life. He's in the environmental world and has done a lot of environmental advocacy work. And even when I was a high school teacher and I'd come home after a hard day and I'd start complaining about what was going on in the classroom, and I would just be like, no, we should be doing it this way, we should be doing it that way, this is so frustrating. And he would say to me, well, you know what you really need to do? And he would start out telling me things that I needed to do that involved sort of organizing principles that he knew. So that stuff was always in the back of my mind. But then I think over time, I finally came to realize that what he was saying made a lot of sense for teachers. That husband thing, right? So I listened to him and I thought what he was doing was really smart and really interesting. And I could apply some of what he was doing to teachers. So I actually started doing some research into that area. I started thinking about the connection of advocacy and teaching. And I started doing a lot of reading, and I actually started interviewing community organizers in different fields like public health and environmental work. Interviewed a bunch of people, and then I ended up writing a book called Teachers Organizing for Change. And it was published about a decade ago through NCTE. And the idea behind that book was to really talk about how teachers are already really good at advocacy because they advocate for their students all the time. But then to start thinking a little bit more about what could we help teachers learn to do strategically to really position themselves as advocates in the world? So that's basically where it all got started.
Well, and I think you probably just answered my next question, because it was, tell us about the strategic ways you've been helping teachers speak up about advocacy issues that are important to them. So
yeah,
is there anything you want to add to that, or is that?
Yeah, sure. So I think we all know that right now there's this public narrative about teachers, which is horrible, which is demeaning and it's dismissive, and it doesn't honor teachers for who they are and the good work that they do. So I think it's a very bad time, and teachers need to learn how to enter that conversation in a way. I'm talking about a way that's smart, safe, and savvy. Those are the three terms I'm using a lot for it. Like, how can you do it and still hold on to your job? How can you do it in a way that's strategic and that really helps make change, instead of just sort of, I'm tweeting my congressman. Okay, I feel good about that.
Yeah.
To do something that really can make change. So I've been doing a lot of work with that, and work with teachers who have really helped me figure this out in better ways. So I teach a course in it. I've been doing some workshops in the summer for teachers to do that. And we think about things like, how can you develop allies? How can you sow the seeds of change where you are? How can you identify decision makers? And what do you do about those decision makers? How can you come up with an action plan that will really lead to change? How can you think about short-term, intermediate term, and long-term goals? And how do those small things we do lead to big change? So those are the kinds of things that we've been working on with groups of teachers.
So how does one persevere when changes take so much time?
Well, that's hard, isn't it? Because we all sort of want to make sure that what we're doing creates change right away. So I think the biggest way I think about that is to sort of show people how movements that are important movements have taken a lot of time, and to have people start feeling confident about the small changes that they can make. So an example I can give is Chris Gideon, who's one of the teachers that we've been working with. So Chris is somebody who really wanted to change how reading is thought of in her school. She wanted kids to have access to books. She was taught in a school where a lot of kids don't have books anymore. So she really wanted to change the whole conversation in her school about reading. Well, the small thing she decided she could do is work in the library. They don't have a librarian anymore. There's no funding for the library. So what could she do that would help there? And she started a plan that helped make changes in her own library. So now they've thrown out all the books that weren't checked out since 1950. They've rearranged the library so there's books that face outwards, so it looks more like a bookstore. Kids are starting to see the library as a place to go to get books. And that leads to a bigger conversation. It leads to a conversation about, what does it mean when we have books to read? What does it mean to have kids start reading all the time? What happens in the curriculum at her school because of that? So it's a small change that is starting to lead to a big change. And my experience with teachers has been, once they start to feel the small change happen, they gain some confidence in that, and they start to feel like, well, maybe I can do something big and move it bigger. So I guess my advice is, when we start with small changes, they can lead to really big changes down the road.
So NCTE has been doing a lot with advocacy lately. So how do you see NCTE playing a role in the advocacy journey of teachers today?
So part of it, I said it a couple minutes ago about this is important about being smart, safe, and savvy. And I think one of the things about being smart is to really know the topics. So if you say, I want to get rid of standardized testing in the world today, right? That might be kind of a big goal, but you really need to learn about what's going on. You have to be smart about what's going on in the area of standardized testing. You need to do some reading. So NCTE is such a fabulous place for that because they really have teachers' backs. So that there are all these policy statements, and there are research briefs, and there are all kinds of good books. All those kinds of things can help a teacher get smart about these things. And I think the other thing that NCTE does, NCTE supports teachers and teacher voices. So one of the things they think a lot about is how teachers can do research in their own classrooms to become more knowledgeable about it. So take that thing that we've read in the book, or the position statement, or something else published by NCTE, place it against our own experience in the classroom, so we can start to say, how do we personalize this in our classroom? So when we do those things, we get a lot smarter about the issues. We have to know these issues well to have credibility when we're speaking to others. And I really am happy about the kind of background that NCTE provides teachers to do this.
Well, thank you so much, Cathy, and we hope to hear more from you in your advocacy work in the future. I know we will.
Thank you, Beth.